Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome back to the Knit Crochet Read Repeat podcast channel. My name is Kirsty. My pronouns are they, them. Now I'm coming to you from Paisley, which is just a stone's throw away from Glasgow in Scotland. Thank you so much for coming and watching this episode, this video, whatever we want to call it. I've got so much to show you and I'm really happy with everything I have this month, but I'd also like to be like, look at my hair. I got a perm. So as you'll have seen in my last video, I cut the sides, the back, both sides and the back really quite short, and I've always had this wanting for a perm, because as someone with a chronic illness, putting a lot of time and effort into my hair just isn't always feasible. And I have a natural curl if I put the effort in, and I do it over weeks and months to get it to actually like, you have to train it after a while once you've not done anything with it. And I decided to get the very little bit of my hair that I have. I know, I cut all my hair off and then I got a perm. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's a bit crazy sometimes, but this is freshly washed today and styled and I love it. So yeah, let's just get that little elephant out of the way. So I actually plan on recording 4 different videos today, so if you see me in the same outfit for the next 4 videos, you know why. It could have been 5, but I've decided to put my knitting and crochet into the same video, which is this video. And I feel like I've got nothing to show, but I also have so much to show. So let's just jump straight in. I plan on kind of going like flitting between knitting and crochet. There's no order to this whatsoever. I'm not going to do all crochet and then knitting. I'm going to kind of switch between. So if you're only here for the knitting, I do apologize. If you're only here for the crochet, I also apologize. But at the same point, I'm not sorry. This is going to be the way I'm going to do today's video. So without going into too much detail, because I'm going to do like a separate video for this project, I have several balls of this yarn, which is ABC Yarns Scribble DK. This is 100 gram. It's not really a ball, but it's also not a cake. It's a very rectangular cake. But this is one of those yarns that gets made out of Turkey and you buy in like bags of like 5 or 10. And it's 100 grams, approximately 200 meters, which is 219 yards. It is 100% anti-pilling, and I would say it's a very true weight of DK. Some of these yarns you get and it says it's a DK is actually like quite a heavy fingering, or quite a thick DK, which is more like sport or closer to like worsted. So it is very true to the fact it says DK, in my opinion. And so, and again, I'm going to go into a lot more detail about what I'm up to in a different video, because it's one that is quite close to my heart. But I have made 3 different blankets. So these are all pet blankets, so that's why they're the size they are, so please bear that in mind. Don't be like, they ain't gonna cover no one. I'm aware of that, but they'll be really good for pets. Also, true to my natural form, none of the ends are woven in. So this is the 8-pointed granny square blanket. I will link all the patterns down below where I can. Some of these I've just made up as I go along, but this one is a pattern I came across on Ravelry. I think I maybe should have gone up a hook size, so I done this with a 5mm hook, and for the most part it looks good. It does look good. But the reason I think I should have gone up a hook size is because if you look at the bottom, it's all bunched up, and when you lay it flat you do need to kind of like try and smooth it out. So I don't think I'd make another one as part of this project. And if when you fold it all up, you can see, if you hold that straight, and you can see that that points up, so it's not a square, or it's not at like a proper angle. I don't know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, this is blanket number 1. I think that's the right side technically. And once I weave the ends in, that'll be put into a bag ready to go. Blanket number 2 I just made up as I went along, and it is a linen stitch or a moss stitch, depending on how you see it. I didn't know it was also called a moss stitch. Thank you to Maddie for teaching me that little nugget. But I have like a slight obsession with this linen stitch right now. I have a couple of projects that are using this stitch, and I just think it's lovely. So that is blanket number 2. Again, I made that up. I just put some numbers out and I made sure that it worked, because technically the linen stitch is a 3-stitch project and then a +2 for the end of your chain. So I had to just check that it was going to work out number wise. And then my third project is just a simple granny square, where I did change direction with every new round. So if I was working one way, I would flip my work and then work technically the opposite way, so that it did remain a square and not kind of like ski whiff and slanted. Because I have made like a granny square blanket in the past and not changed direction, and you could see it wasn't a square. So I did change direction every time, and I think this is lovely. So the first 2 were crocheted with a 5mm hook, which is a size H. So this is the clover hook that I was using. And then the granny square was done with a 4.5, but that doesn't have it doesn't have a letter, so I'm not really sure what the H is, what the 4.5 is. So that's 3 blankets, or 3 pet blankets. And then yesterday, or at least for this week, I've had this niggling reminder in the back of my head saying, you need to work on this, just get it done, join the squares together, and just be able to put it out of your mind. And that is the Radvent blanket that I done in 2024. So yesterday I pulled them all out. They were all still on the little blocking mat pad square thing that my mum got me, and I single crocheted them all together, and I think it looks lovely. I'm really happy with this blanket. I think it is such a fun blanket. It is 4x6 or 6x4, however you want to look at it. And these were all minis that the wonderful Amy sent to me. So Amy of Odd Knits Adventure, and she was very kind enough to send me these minis as an advent last year, and I had such fun knitting these up. It was such a surprise to see some of the colours. I absolutely adore this one. It reminds me of fruit salad, the sweet that you used to get here in the UK, and some of them are just such my colours. Like I really love this one here with the pinks and the blue. I don't want to finish this blanket. Like, I'll weave the ends in, but I think I want to add more squares to it. I want to just make it a little bit bigger. It's not quite big enough. Like, it will go over like my lap, but it's not quite, sorry, I just hit the microphone. It's not quite big enough to wrap around my shoulders. So I would like to add probably at least 2 more at each side. So that would be 10 in length. So that would then be 6 in width. I'm not sure. I don't want it to be like a bed blanket. I want it to be throw around your shoulders or chuck over your lap on the sofa blanket. And just kind of wrapping that around there, it was coming to like maybe like the crease in my arm. And so that's why I'm thinking like 2 more each side would take it down to like midway past my hand. Like 1 each side wouldn't even reach my wrist. And then if I'm adding 2 at each side, I need to add 4. And I'd need to add 2 in width. So it's 6 by 10. I'm not sure. I'd literally need to see, like, make them and see. But that's a project for another time. I have some other projects on the go at the moment that I am really kind of obsessed with, if I'm honest. And I've got some other projects I plan on casting on as well. So this project is technically finished. I plan on essentially putting it away for the time being, and I will come back to it. That is a guarantee, because I do think it's a gorgeous blanket. It's just not big enough, like, honestly. And then there was one other thing I wanted to do, and that's when it is finished. So I have single crocheted them together, and what I don't think you can really see is that the single crochet sits kind of folded to one side, and it does it at every bit. But I think when I'm done, I'm gonna try and steam it so that the V sits flush or sits down, because I just think that looks nicer than when it's pushed over to the side like that. So that is something I want to do when I get finished with it. But again, if it's not finished, I'm not gonna steam it just now. So it's just something I was very aware of when I was trying to put them together, and I was changing how I was putting them together. I started with a slip stitch. I didn't really like how that looked, and then I started joining them with the linen stitch because I'm currently obsessed with that, and I didn't like how that looked either. And so I eventually just followed to a point how the pattern tells you to join it. And yeah, I don't like how the single crochet sits. It sits folded over to one side. I don't like it at all. So eventually, when it's the size I want it, that single crochet will sit nice and flat. So yeah, that's going to be put away for a little while until my obsession with these other projects has dwindled down a little bit. But we'll see. Okay. Since we've done finished objects, I'll show you a half finished object, which is my Life in the Shire socks. This is a yarn that is part of the Fantasy Fibre Yarn Club that I'm a part of. That's a club run by For the Love of Yarn, who are based in Glasgow. And I am slowly chipping away at sock number 2. I don't know why I'm really slow with my socks this month. I think it's because I am just so fixated on blankets right now. And I really mean fixated on them. It's all I want to work on. They make me really happy right now. The weather's got just a little bit cooler here. We've had kind of that weather that I love being home when it's like that, where it's grey skies and downpours and light rain and slightly windy. Not anything like the weather warning we had the other day, but just stay at home cozy weather. And blankets are that, but I need to get this sock finished. I promised myself, or I talked myself into when I got this club, that I would do the socks every month and I would have them finished for the next club coming out, or within like a week of the new club arriving. And for the most part, I was doing okay. I would normally have like a week after the next club arrives before the sock would be finished, or until I recorded the next opening video for the club. And then one of the suppliers really kind of screwed Lisa over, or was just very late in sending what she had ordered, because we get some really beautiful extras in the club, like really beautiful. Oh, you should have seen how happy I was when I recorded it. You saw how happy I was, or you will see it when I release the video, how happy I was when I opened May and June's, because they shipped together, and it was a pin badge of a Hobbit door. It still makes me incredibly happy. I absolutely love Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. So because of the slight delay in that one, 2 clubs were shipped together, and I am therefore a month behind. But I just don't want to work on socks right now. I think I socked myself out. I've been making a pair every month, and then there was a couple, 2 extra socks that over and above the club. So I think I've socked myself out, and that sucks. But it's still my go-to project in my bag. So if I'm going anywhere like a doctor's appointment, or Scott and I are going out for the day, it's my go-to project. It's always in my bag. And so we're going to be out on Wednesday. Scott and I are off this week. Well, I'm off today and tomorrow. So today's Monday the 11th. I'm off today and tomorrow, and then the rest of the week. Scott's only off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So on Wednesday, I have 2 appointments. I'm dragging him along to one. Well, technically he's got to come to both, because they're like not very far apart, but also not close enough together. And then Thursday or Friday, we haven't decided. We've not even looked at the weather. We're going to drive, and we're going up to this really beautiful coffee shop that has just become like a total trend on TikTok, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. So it'll be my project for in the car to keep my hands busy, and it also kind of helps me not feel so car sick. So yeah, I'll get it done, but I really do think I'm socked out, which is a shame, because one of the 4 videos I'm recording today is the opening for the next club. It's the opening of July's club, so yeah, there's that. But it's nothing against the yarn. It's really not. It's the knitting of the sock. and I was doing so well. I was doing so well, and I feel like if I force myself to work on it, it will make how I'm feeling worse. But it's such a gorgeous yarn, this one. And the other one we got, so I'm not sure if this was May or June's, they didn't have a month on the tag, but the other one that came with it, so say this one was May, June's is just like the yarn is gorgeous, and I do like can't wait to work with it, but I'm socked out. So yeah, there's that. Okay, what will we show off next? Both are blankets. One's incredibly smaller though, a bit more fun. I'll show off the other one. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I put 5 new squares in my Cozy Memories blanket. I don't even know what word just came out of my mouth, but it was not the official way to say blanket. I got 5 new squares on my Cozy Memories blanket, or the Coziest Memory blanket, which is a pattern by KnitCrochetReadRepeat. And oh, there was a whole thing one weekend where I had found a new project that needed scraps, but my brain would not let me enjoy this project until I had pulled out all my scraps. Not minis, just scraps. Pulled out all my scraps, pulled out my Cozy Memories blanket, and okay, so let's backtrack just a little bit. I'm really good at this. Like, I had previously recorded most of the podcast and it was like under 15 minutes, and then I felt I'd overcomplicated something. I'm gonna do it again, but I'm not gonna re-record. So when I've been working on this blanket, I have been keeping the yarns I would like to put into it. I've been keeping them in this bowl alongside my needles, alongside a pair of scissors, and alongside a bunch of stitch markers. And then alongside this, I have 2 other containers. One has solid and semi-solid mini skeins wound into cakes, just like this. And the other one has variegated and speckled and everything else in the other one, again wound up as cakes. And I will put in 2 or 3 or 4, up to about 6 yarns in this bowl that I will use next. And then I will have this folded all neatly on top and put on my bookshelf. So that is my setup. And then when I have used a yarn, it was not going back into the 2 other containers. It was being put into one of my many project bags. And even though there was way more than enough yarn to go in this blanket multiple times, I didn't want them in the blanket multiple times. I want to see how big it will get with the yarn only being in it once for now. And so far, let's do a very quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 wide. 2, 4, 6, 7. 13 by 7 so far. And that is wide enough to go over my lap, which is what I wanted. But I might do a 14th, because I'm very often sitting cross-legged, therefore there's a lot more height in my lap. So I might do a 14th row, column. And then I just want to see how much I can get done with just putting each yarn in once. And I don't think that's a weird thing to do. I also don't think it's a weird thing to try to fixate on either. But Anyway, that's a whole other thing. But I had to pull this out the other day, and I had to pull out all my scraps, and I had to find the scraps that were in this blanket and put them to a side. And so I put the blanket down on the ground. I'm going to insert a photo about here, and in this photo you will see the blanket on the ground. Actually, okay, the photo's not going to be inserted just yet. I will insert it after I explain what you're going to be looking at. In the photo, you're going to see this blanket spread out on the ground, and you're going to see a bunch of different balls of yarn on top of certain squares. Not all squares, just certain squares. Because I know for a fact that some of the yarn, there was not enough to go into another project. Certain yarn has already been put into other projects, and therefore I don't have any more of. And then other ones, I just don't know what happened to the rest of the yarn, to be perfectly honest. So here's the photo. And then what I done, if the yarn was in this and I had spares, that yarn got set to the side. And then if the yarn was already wound double, it was set into a different pile. If it was not wound double and it was in a ball, like a hand wound ball, that was set into another pile. And then if it was caked up, therefore easy to be held double, it was put in with the yarn held double, regardless of whether it was a ball or a cake. With me so far? Because I think I'm doing a terrible explanation. And then, if the yarn was not in this blanket and held single, it was put in my bowl. So all of this needs to go in this blanket, and then it can join the rest of the scraps to go in 2 different projects. And so I've got, to be fair, most of this is all variegated, which is great, because I think I have more semi-solid and tonal than I do variegated. And my blanket has always been, let's see if I can unfold it. My blanket has always been semi-solid, variegated, semi-solid, variegated, semi-solid, variegated, and then the opposite on the row above and below. Okay, so I got a pile of not in the blanket and held single, in the blanket and held double, 3 piles. And then I'm getting myself confused. I've always had 2 piles for this for the Cozy Memories blanket, semi-solid and solid and variegated. There's always been 2 piles. And then there's now a 3rd pile from the scraps that have never been in this blanket and need to go in it. And now there's 3 piles for the next 2 projects. One is going to be top secret until it's finished, and those are small scraps held single, large scraps, normally cakes, therefore easily held double, and then medium to small scraps held double. So I have got 6 piles of scrap, and my brain is really happy. I know it doesn't sound it because I'm getting myself confused, but my brain was very happy with having those piles, having that organisation, taking the time to pull out a blanket project to be like, right, okay, these yarns have already been put in this blanket, they can now be put into completely other projects. And then these yarns are not in the first scrappy blanket you've done, so they need to get used first in that blanket before they get put into other scrappy projects. So all that to say, I put 5 new squares in my Cozy Memories blanket. Oh my god, how long was that explanation? Jeez. So I've got so much yarn to go into that blanket, and that makes me happy. It is a good blanket to work on, but it's not what's got my heart right now. And again, one of the projects is top secret, so I can't show it off, but there will be a whole other video to accompany the project. But the other one I can show off is when I have used the blanket in my Cozy Memories and my top secret project, it is going into this. So this is, again, the linen stitch or moss stitch, and it is going to be a little bit wider than this, wide enough to drape over a lap. So at the moment, and I'm basing this on when I'm sat cross-legged, and again, because I sit cross-legged, my legs are slightly higher than they would if you were just sitting normally, and so I need just a wee bit more width. I'd say I need it to be this much wider up until about here. I need it to be that much wider before I'm happy. And then I'm going to add rows widthwise, not lengthwise, because I think that's going to be more fun than big long strips. I'm going to have them that way instead, and then I'm going to join them as I go. And this is going to be my next scrappy blanket project. So this is very reminiscent of what I think a lot of people are making, which is jelly roll? But it's also very reminiscent of the first blanket project that was came about by, they changed their Instagram handle and their name, so I don't want to get it wrong. I'll either put it on the screen or it'll be in the description box below for the original one. But everyone was working on it, even I started one, then I ripped it out because I didn't like how it looked. Nah, it's gone. I don't want to say the name in my head because that might not be the name they go by now. I'll put it on the screen. But they were the original ones who started these kind of like strip scrappy blankets, and then I think a lot of people have kind of taken their own version or just put their own one out, and it looks very much like the original one in my opinion. And I was working on my top secret project that has linen stitch in it, and I decided how good would this look as like a strip scrappy blanket. So again, not quite wide enough, but it will get there. This has an intended recipient. Don't know if she'd even want it. Don't know if I trust her with good yarn. Not a dig, but when you know how to handle the yarn, you know how to treat it when it gets washed. And I think I would need to educate on how to wash good yarn. So we'll see. They might not even like it, honestly. When it's done, they might not even like how it looks, and they might not want it. But at the moment, it does have an intended recipient. This is going to be quite slow because I have to wait until the scraps are at least 2 grams or less, or just over 2 grams. I'm not being very strict with that, but it has to go into the Cozy Memories blanket, then it has to go into the top secret blanket, and then it's going in this. So it's normally quite short on weight by that point. But depending on how much yarn. Maybe a square can go in this as well. Who knows? I'm not being very strict about it, but it does have to go in the Cozy Memories blanket first and then the Top Secret blanket before it will make its way into this. So this is a much slower rate project than anything else I've got going on at the moment. But it makes me very happy. It just sits there. When I get a new scrap, I add it in. I try to crochet my ends in so I don't have to sit and weave a whole bunch in, but I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, because if you can see here, like, I fluff them up, you can see the ends of the green. So maybe not the best way to go about it, but I am at this point sick of weaving in ends or sewing them in properly. So yeah, okay, that is the end of the knitting and the crochet. I am going to show off the yarns that I made during Tour de Fleece, just in case you were not watching. And the first one is 2 packets of urchin scraps from Spin Jones. This is merino, silk and bamboo. I have approximately 625 meters. It goes from this really gorgeous orange into the pink, then the pale pink, and then the then the grey into the black. I'm trying to think if there's like, I was going to say there's some white, but I think it's just like super pale pink. And honestly, I think this is stunning. I think this is really beautiful. I'm thinking a shawl, because there's so much yardage. It's not enough to make like a top for myself. It would be if I was a bit thinner, slimmer, but I am not. And so I'm thinking a shawl. The next one still unfortunately needs I need to set the twist. I still haven't done it. And this is fibre from Wool Sheeps. It is merino and sparkle. I think there has to be some sort of silk content in this specific one. I can't find the ball band or the fibre band for this, but the sheen on this and the silkiness, like the smoothness, makes me think there has to be some sort of silk content. It's just so lovely. And this was like my wild card for Tour de Fleece. I had no intention of spinning this whatsoever. But when I finished my Spin Jones spin, I needed something else because there were still many more days of Tour de Fleece to go. And this is what I got. So don't remember the yardage right off the top of my head for this one, but if you are curious, you can go back and watch my last Tour de Fleece video and you will see the yardage for that. But I do think it's absolutely gorgeous. I think it could maybe be a hat or a cowl. Probably a cowl. I think that would sit lovely around the neck. It would be so soft and it would be quite luxurious as well. Okay, so that is actually the end of the knitting and the crochet content, but there is 2 yarny things I am going to discuss. So I have been influenced by Maddie of the House of Langford, and we are going to knit a toaster together. This will be my second toaster, and I haven't worn my first one. I think I've decided I'm not happy with the size I done or the fit of the one I've done, and my gauge was so off from the designer. I've always known I knit really tight. Like, I've always known I'm quite a tight knitter, and therefore for me to get the gauge that matches the designer, the fabric was going to be very, 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 very loose and gapey and holey and see-through, and that's not a good look, not for me. If that's what takes your fancy, then no judgment from me, but it's not what I wanted. And I really liked the yarn of the one I done, and I knit the DK version because it was a DK weight yarn. But what I might look into is using the same DK, like unraveling the one I done, which was using drop spell. I might unravel that and see if I can get the gauge as the 4-ply version. Otherwise, I really, really need to get my head around gauge and understanding it, because it's like there's a block in my brain where I just cannot understand how gauge works. Like, if I'm told my gauge is, say, like 21 stitches in 4 inches, 10 centimeters, say I need 21 stitches but I've got 18, I cannot get it to work out in my head whether I should be going down a needle size or going up a needle size, or if I like the fabric that I'm doing, do I need to go up 2 or 3 different sizes, or you get my point. I can't wrap my head around it. I always have to go to Instagram and ask for the very kindness of other people to point me in the right direction. Thankfully, I think I still have a couple of messages that I deliberately kept and or screenshotted so that I can reference back. So I really need to brush up on that, because we're going to be doing a knit along. Just me and Maddie. Other people can join in if they want. But this is kind of like what's the words? It's not going to be done as part of the podcast. We're just going to show them off on the podcast, our respective podcasts. But we're not going to be doing like an official knit along. This is unofficial. So I had pulled yarn out, and I'm going to show off my options because I've got 2. But I really think I'm going to rip out my first toaster and redo it and see what gauge I would get if I used the DK yarn but followed the 4-ply instructions. So if I don't, here are my options. So I have this DK weight, I think it's DK. I have Rowan, and this is Rowan Cashmere Tweed, made with extra fine merino and cashmere, approximately 88 meters a ball. I have 10 balls. It is 80% wool, 20% cashmere, and it's in this brown colour. I think I treated myself because it had cashmere in it. I'm not a brown person, but I could get behind like a nice tea in this colour, especially in this softness of yarn. I think that would be lovely. So this is option 1 as a DK, following the DK instructions, if I can wrap my head around the gauge, because it means I've got 880 meters to work with, and I think that's enough up until a certain size. So if I know for a fact I'm never going to get gauge. My gauge is far too loose, and I don't like the fabric when I go up needle sizes just to match the designer. So I need to wrap my head around gauge to find out when I do use the needles I like to get the fabric I like what the size difference is. So got 10 balls of that, and then alternatively, and this colour is so going to get blown out on camera, alternatively I have pulled a fingering weight version. Oh yeah, that's blown out, that's not showing the true colour. This is Big Dick by Woo Sheeps, and it's called that because it's not the colour, that's not the colourway, that's just the type of yarn, because this is a 150 gram ball of yarn or skein of yarn, and therefore is approximately 600 meters per skein or per ball or per cake, however you're processing it. It comes in the skein, but I've obviously now put it into a cake. This is highlighter pink, and that makes me incredibly happy. So the colour is being blown out by my camera, but take my word for it, it is highlighter pink. So yeah, I've got some math to do. I need to figure out gauge. I need to actually figure out what fabric I'm happy with. I don't necessarily have enough yarn to do a proper swatch with the cashmere tweed, but I do have additional balls of the Drops Bell to do more swatches with. I've got 2 balls of this, which is more than enough yardage and meterage for the toaster in 4-ply, so I've got more than enough to do a gauge with this, but I know I'm never going to get close to the gauge of the designer. It's just too loose for my liking. I am such a tight knitter. I basically strangle the yarn on everything I knit. So these are on my horizon. I do see me making a toaster with this yarn because I don't know what else I could make with it, because there's just not enough yardage. And it is a lovely colour, just brown isn't my go-to. I don't own any colour, like any clothes in brown. This would be the only colour I have. So that could be interesting. So yeah, those are projects on my horizon. They have been bagged up, ready to go. I just need to look through some old messages and see if I can wrap my head around gauge. If not, there'll probably be something out in my stories begging someone to help explain it to me. But yeah, I'm really excited for some of the projects I've got on the go at the moment, and ones that will be coming in the near future. And yeah, I got a wee bit of a how would you explain it? I lost my mojo. So I had a really amazing long weekend that I recorded and put out on YouTube, where I had 5 days of just pure crafting, and that was amazing. I had the best time. I was so productive, so motivated and inspired. And then I think that used up a lot of my inspiration and my mojo, and it's slowly coming back, it's trickling back in. So that's why I felt like I didn't really have much to show. But when I look at it in a pile, it is a lot. It is a good amount, and I don't want to be that person that kind of beats himself up for not being this super productive churning out projects, because one, I have a full-time job, takes up a lot of my time. 2, I have multiple chronic illnesses, and I have been unwell recently. My partner's been unwell, so I've been kind of taking on his like housework essentially, and then I've been tired, been really tired, and so I don't want to be that person that's just like, you must be productive, because that's not good. That's very toxic thinking. But there's saying that to someone else, and then there's trying to say it to yourself. Those are two very, very different things entirely. So yeah, I'm trying really hard not to beat myself up about not having screeds and screeds and screeds of stuff to show off. But I mean, 3 pet blankets, 1 adult, well, I wouldn't say it's adult size, but 1 Radvent project, pair of socks, and what? Technically 3 other human sized blankets. Anyway, I have rambled so much in this one. I do apologise, but at the same point, thank you for letting me vent and rant it out and speak it out loud. I do hope you enjoy watching my podcasts. Please do like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It will help bring my little podcast to other people's attention, and maybe they might like it as well. But let me know what you're working on in the comments. Let's have a conversation. That sounds so false, I'm sorry, that did come out sounding very, very sarcastic, but I would like to have conversation with you, so please let me know what you're working on in the comments down below. How is your week going? I hope we have some nice weather for Scott and I to get away on Thursday or Friday. It's just a wee day trip, that's all. Just a wee day trip. We're not going anywhere. But yeah. Thank you again, and please do stay safe, and until the next video, bye.